Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today for Stabilization, Setup, and Accessories, the third webinar in our 2024 National Ladder Safety Month webinar series. My name is Joe Zagrabic and I'm here from the American Ladder Institute. We are excited to have Eric Blankinship, Senior Product Manager at Werner, lead today's presentation. But before we begin, a few quick announcements. The American Ladder Institute is a not-for-profit association dedicated to promoting the safe use of ladders. Its members are affiliated with the ladder and ladder component manufacturing industry, and ALI is the American National Standards Institute approved developer of ladder safety standards. National Ladder Safety Month, observed in March and spearheaded by the American Ladder Institute, is the only program dedicated exclusively to promoting ladder safety at home and work. This year is the 8th anniversary of National Ladder Safety Month, and we are excited to bring you a new series of webinars covering safe ladder use. Partnering with ALI for today's webinar is Werner. Werner actively advocates for ladder safety and accident prevention through their range of innovative product solutions, in-person training, and online educational programs. All attendees will remain muted for the program. At the end of the presentation, attendees can ask questions by typing them into the questions feature. This webinar is being recorded, and we will share the recording with all attendees later this week. This recording will also be hosted online at laddersafetymonth.com. With that, I'll pass it over to Eric.
Thanks, Joe. Let me share my presentation. Oh, of course, that happened. All right, can you see that okay?
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate the introduction and welcome everybody to week 3 of Ladder Safety Month. Really important month for everybody as we get into the building season here to really reset, make sure we're putting safety first and using ladders not only to get the job done, but to get home safe at the end of the day. Again, I'm Eric Blankinship, Senior Product Manager for Professional Climbing Products at Werner Ladder. And we're going to be talking today about setup, stabilization, and accessories. So we'll be talking about the 3 main types of ladders most commonly used out there, how to set them up, and how to use accessories to, make sure you're feeling extra stable up there, but also maybe increase productivity as well. We'll be looking at step ladders, also some special purpose step ladders, including leaning, just a little foundational knowledge there. Extension ladders, and multi-ladders. But first, we need to know how to choose a ladder. So number 1, we're going to start by always referencing that ID label. Then we'll get into choosing the correct material for the job. Then we'll make sure we're using the correct duty rating. And then we'll be able to choose our correct ladder type, our ladder height. And lastly, you always want to make sure you review the safety warning labels on the ladder and ensure safe climbing practices before you get to work. That's just a quick summary before we dive in here. So here, just an overview of what an ID label looks like. It doesn't matter who the manufacturer is. All of this information is mandated by ANSI and OSHA. And you'll see some version of this from Werner as well as other ladder manufacturers. And we'll always be letting you know what the load capacity is, the duty rating, the ladder size, the maximum reach, the highest standing level. You'll see, the model number of that particular ladder if you need to, contact our customer care team for any questions or replacement parts, anything like that. It'll also tell you what the material of the ladder is if you have any question on that. And you'll always find this information on the side rail of the ladder. And you need to ensure that the ID label is, easily legible and viewable. It can't be painted over. It can't be ripped in any fashion. It needs to be, in plain sight, or the ladder is actually not compliant with OSHA and, could incur a fine. Werner, as well as other ladder manufacturers, do provide replacement labels to make sure that your ladders are compliant. So after you know where all the pertinent information is available on the ladder, you want to make sure that you are, choosing the correct material for the job. So, and that really is dictated by, number 1, if the job site has any requirements, on fiberglass versus aluminum. Many commercial job sites will mandate that fiberglass is always used no matter what, just to make sure that it is as safe as possible. What that is really coming down to is whether you're working around electricity or not. Fiberglass is non-conductive, and so if you're working around any sort of electrical fixture of any sort, you're always going to want to use a fiberglass ladder to maximize, your safety on the job site, minimize risk. Aluminum ladders, on the other hand, if they're allowed on the job site and you're not working near any sort of source of electricity, are a very nice alternative to fiberglass. They're lighter weight, they're still very strong, and a great way to get the job done if you're not working near electricity. After you've determined if you need to use fiberglass or aluminum, you need to consider the duty rating. So there are 4, really 5, duty ratings out there. We start, with, you'll see primarily green ladders out there, and green typically refers to 225-pound type 2 ladders. You could run into some type 3 200-pound ladders. This day and age, those aren't very common anymore. Most manufacturers aren't, making 200-pound rated ladders at this point. And that goes up, and the ratings go all the way up to 375-pound, the yellow ladders, type 1 AA, special duty ladders out there. More commonly, you're going to see blue and orange ladders. So blue is typically associated with type 1 250-pound duty rated ladders, and orange will be type 1A 300-pound rated. So how do you know, what duty you should be using? It's not as simple as if you weigh 200 pounds, you can use a 200-pound rated ladder. You at 200 pounds, whoever's climbing the ladder, you also needs to consider the weight of the tools or any equipment that they're climbing with while they maintain 3 points of contact climbing up the ladder. So if you weigh 200 pounds and you have a tool belt filled with tools that roughly weighs 35 pounds, your total climbing weight would be 235 pounds. I'm going to repeat that because I stumbled before. So again, if you weigh 200 pounds and you're carrying a tool belt filled with tools that equals 35 pounds, your total climbing weight is 235 pounds. That means that you would select a minimum of a 250-pound rated ladder. So the blue type 1 250-pound rated ladder. For reference, approximate weight of some common materials, next to you there. You can see like a bundle of shingles is around 70 pounds, a 5-gallon bucket of roof coating is around 70 pounds, a toolbox of tools is 35 pounds, 3 4x4s is 80 pounds, just for reference. So after you've determined, the appropriate material, the duty rating that you need to use, and you've confirmed all that by reading the ID label on the side of the ladder, you need to decide if that's the right ladder for the job or not. So typically we're going to find ourselves in one of two situations. We're going to be either in a freestanding job where a step ladder is appropriate, maybe if you're installing a light fixture or a ceiling fan, or a drop ceiling, something like that. Or if you're working against a wall that you can lean on, you're typically going to want to use an extension ladder. And that'll be the most appropriate choice for installing a window or painting a wall, anything like that. Step ladders are typically going to have a reach height that'll be less than 18 feet. And again, they're good for freestanding. Extension ladders require a surface to lean against, and they typically have a minimum reach height of 15 feet or higher. Or you can use them to access a higher level. A step ladder you can't use to access a higher level. So as we get into ladder height, now that you've determined if you need to use a step ladder or an extension ladder, you need to determine what is the ladder height that you need. And to first talk about that, we need to make sure we understand the highest standing level. So for example, you can see a step ladder and extension ladder here. The blue arrows are pointing to the highest step that you are allowed to stand on. So for step ladders, the rule is 2 steps below the top of the ladder. So in the picture there, you can see the yellow plastic ladder top. and the blue arrow is pointing 2 steps below that. That is the highest level that you're allowed to climb onto. Extension ladders are slightly different. From the tips of the ladder, the top of the extension ladder, you are only allowed to climb to the 4th rung from the top. And you can see the blue arrow pointing to 4 rungs down from the top. So choosing, now we're going to get into the category specific side of things here, and we're going to talk about step ladders, in the entirety here, and we'll start with that ladder height. So if you think about your common ladder heights, 4 foot, 6 foot, all the way up to 16-foot step ladders, and you can only go up to 2 steps from the top. That means that on a 4-foot step ladder, you can only go 2 feet up in the air. But the average 5'6" person with a vertical reach of 12 inches, that means that on a 4-foot step ladder, they can reach 8 feet. Or on a 6-foot, a 10-foot reach is what you're able to reach. So this is a handy chart to reference if you need a cheat sheet to make sure that you're using the appropriate size ladder for the appropriate job. Commonly, 8-foot, 10-foot ceilings are going to require that 4- and 6-foot step ladder. That's why you most commonly see those around the job. Setting that ladder up, like we spoke about earlier this month, any ladder we talk about today, you want to start with an inspection. You want to go through the entire ladder, make sure the feet are, properly adhered to the bottom of the ladder. Everything is working as it properly should. Like we spoke about a couple weeks ago, we have ladder inspection forms and training available on wernerco.com, and also ALI provides training as well. As you set the ladder up, though, step ladders are pretty simple. Once you've ensured that the ladder is safe to climb, you open the back from the front of the ladder, you push down on the spreaders, and you ensure that the spreaders are in the fully extended position. And then you need to ensure that you're on flat level ground, free of obstacles. Here in the picture, you can see a power cord running underneath the ladder. You want to make sure that you have, a completely clean area around the ladder. We don't want to have any tripping hazards as you ascend or descend the ladder. We don't want the ladder to accidentally be on top of something like that extension cord that would make the ladder unstable to climb. A little nuance here between step ladders and podium or platform ladders. They're both considered step ladders, and they have similar rules, but they look a little bit different. So getting back to that highest standing level, again, on step ladders, the blue arrow is pointing to that 2nd step from the top. This is a 6-foot ladder, which has a 4-foot highest standing height or a 10-foot maximum reach. A 4-foot podium, you can see there the podium level is at 4 feet, and therefore it has a 4-foot highest standing height and a 10-foot maximum reach. So this is a little nuance in the ladder world where a 4-foot podium is actually equivalent to a 6-foot step ladder, and something to make sure you have in the back of your mind as you're speccing the right ladder for the job. Another special step ladder would be a lean safe style step ladder. And here we actually have a hybrid ladder and a pure lean safe ladder. In the diagram starting from the left, you can use a leaning ladder as a standard step ladder, and therefore you would follow the same rule where 2 steps from the top of the ladder is your highest standing step. In a lean safe ladder, you're able to lean it against a wall or a stud, inside corner if it has the appropriate padding. And in that mode, when you're using it as a leaning ladder, you're only able to step as high as the 4th step from the top, kind of similar to an extension ladder. If you have a hybrid leaning ladder where the back of the ladder is able to flip up into a straight mode, then you're able to go 2 feet from the top of the ladder again. That would be your highest step there. And then you can see in the picture on the right there, why this might be so useful, especially in a rough construction environment where you're doing a lot of installations and leaning against walls, very, very useful around the job. This is one of the more common OSHA fines around the job site. One of the more common things you'll hear safety directors complaining about and telling their team to stop doing is leaning non-leaning ladders. Because it's such a common infraction, that's why leaning ladders were developed to be able to allow the user to use the ladder safely in a leaning way and be able to do their job in a really efficient, safe, possible way. But we want to communicate from across the job site, so that the safety director on site or, an OSHA inspector is able to see from a distance that that is a lean safe ladder. In the Werner way of doing things, you're going to see a mixed use rail. So orange in the front in this case, yellow in the back, with also lean safe logos on the ladder to indicate that it is safe to do what the user is doing there in the picture, leaning against the stud. Other manufacturers have other ways to indicate that. It's not defined by ANSI particularly how to indicate that it's a lean safe ladder. This is just the Werner way to do that. So getting into some accessories that might help improve, not only the stability, but also the productivity. Step ladders are really talking about improving productivity when we're talking about accessories. Here, Werner has our patented lock top feature where there's a number of accessories that fit into the top of the ladder to really, help you do your job better. And it also limits the times you need to, climb up and down the ladder to get different tools. And that's really not only going to, keep you fresher throughout the day, but also limit the potential for any accidents. A few of these accessories that you might choose to use would be, our 76-2, you can see left to right, our accessory pail shelf. Not every ladder out there comes with a pail shelf built into it, and they're really useful, and a lot of people really prefer to work with a pail shelf. So we do have accessory pail shelves that you can install on the ladder. The next one on the list here, we have our AC27 paint cup, and you can see it's a small cup. It fits in your hand nicely if you want. But you can also lock it into the ladder top as well, and it gives you a nice, safe place to put your paint cup and not have to worry about spilling it as you're going about your work. The job bucket, the AC50, is a really nice tool. You can use it in this sense here to carry up everything you need to do at the top of the ladder. Or we see a lot of window washers, and things of that nature, jobs like that being used with the job bucket to, have a bucket of soapy water up there, or, there's a lot of other things, very versatile tool you can use in many different ways. The last thing I wanted to draw attention to from a stepladder perspective is the tool tether. On commercial sites where, this is a newer rule that you need to tether off tools at the top of the ladder. In the picture there, you can see how the tether is attached to an impact driver on the podium ladder there. That is to prevent a dropped tool from hitting the ground or, God forbid, somebody underneath the ladder. The average impact driver with the battery and the accessory installed is around, 7 pounds. And from any sort of height, that can, really turn into a bad day for somebody. The tool tether is going to stop that impact from going all the way down to the ground and limit any accidents. Also mandated on many commercial job sites. Getting into extension ladders and choosing the appropriate height of extension ladder, we get a little bit, more complicated here versus a step ladder. Extension ladders have an overlap. There's typically 3 feet of overlap at the maximum extension of the ladder. So, for example, a 16-foot extension ladder fully extended is actually only 13 feet. But then with the average 5'6" person on there and their 12-inch vertical reach, from that 4th step, they can reach 15 feet. So, and then the height of the gutter top because you need to actually, if you're trying to get on top of a roof or gain access to the next level, the maximum height that a 16-foot ladder can reach and allow you to safely gain access is 9 feet. And you can see the difference in the diagram on the blue houses. The top one is showing where the ladder tips are leaning against a wall. That is indicating to me that that person is getting ready to climb and work on that wall, maybe install siding or paint, whatever they're doing. On the bottom picture, the bottom house, you can see the ladder is set up with 3 rungs over the roof line, and that would allow you to safely gain access to the roof. Less than 3 rungs above the roof, that's an OSHA violation. That's not proper climbing. Can lead to a lot of very unsafe situations, and that would mean that your ladder's too short for the job. So setting up the extension ladder, first, let's talk about the feet, because the feet on extension ladders are a little bit different than step ladders, and they are designed for use indoors and outdoors. So the first picture there, you can see that the feet are in their flat position where they have their non-slip, non-marring pads on a level concrete surface. You want to make sure that it's not a slippery surface. There's no, oil or water, contaminating the surface. Make sure you're in a clean environment, or get somebody to, help support the ladder as you go up. The next picture you're going to see there is a spur plate. The foot tipped up into spur plate mode. So the shoe or foot of the ladder has these little spikes you can see in this picture here. These spikes are designed to penetrate any soft surface, like the dirt in this case, and make sure that the ladder is going to dig in on a soft surface and give you a stable base to climb from. Now, if you're in particularly soft earth, but you've still deemed it safe to climb in, you may want to stake the ladder down to prevent it from slipping out. And here you can see an example of staking the ladder down. You'll use some wooden stakes, pound it into the ground, and tie the ladder to the stakes to prevent any outward slipping. At the top of the ladder, when you have it set up, it's always good practice to tie off to make sure that the ladder, can't swing from left to right, especially when you're getting on and off of the ladder. When you get on and off of an extension ladder, you're kind of swinging your leg around the outside of the ladder, and having that tie off at the top really increases safety. So whenever you have the ability to do that, it's highly recommended. So setting up an extension ladder is a little bit more complicated than a step ladder again. So here's a few more steps. So when you get the ladder up to the wall, you want to put your feet near the wall, and you can see the gentleman here has his feet near the wall, and he's picked up the tip of the ladder, and then you start, kind of doing the monkey bars towards the wall. You get that ladder pressed up against the wall, and then you can pick up the bottom and then start to set your proper climbing angle. When you get the bottom out away from the wall, you can extend the top of the ladder using the rope and pulley system. Now, you typically are going to want to have, I'm a righty, so I typically have my left hand supporting the base of the extension ladder. And then my right arm, I reach to grab the rope around the back of the ladder and pull on the rope to extend the fly. And you want to make sure that you are, 3 to 4 rungs above the roof line at that point. When you believe you're set up at the proper angle, you want to check and make sure. So we have the guy here, with his toes on the feet of the ladder. And then if you're standing in front of the ladder and you put your palms out to the rung directly in line with your shoulders, you should be making a 4-to-1 ratio angle. You'll also hear this referred to as the fireman's rule. And that is going to create a 75.5 degree climbing angle. Again, you'll hear people talk to this as the 4-to-1 rule or the fireman's rule. I like to think about it also as a triangle between my body and legs and my arms and the angle of the ladder. I'm making a triangle, and I'm a right angle at my arm and torso, and that means that I want the angle of the ladder to be at 75.5 degrees. And if my palms, if my toes are on the feet of the ladder and my palms are on the rung, I know I'm at that proper angle. Next, before you climb and you're fully extended, you really want to ensure that your locks are, completely engaged. So you want to carefully look at those locks and ensure that the rungs on the base section and the fly section are locked and in line with each other. Sometimes you may, find that, the lock got hung up on something and, the rungs aren't completely parallel with each other or in the same plane and not creating a level walking surface. And that means something is wrong. Stop and reassess, figure out what the problem is, and make sure that you can set the ladder to safely climb. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. All right, so accessories for extension ladders. So as we kind of spoke earlier, setting up outdoors, can present a lot of challenges. The feet are designed to flip up into, the spur mode so they can dig into soft earth. But oftentimes you're going to find yourself in unlevel situations. Here you can kind of see, the grade off the back of the house is fairly steep here. You can even find yourself in mulch beds on a residential house where you need to get up to clean the gutters or, install the cable line or, whatever you're trying to do that day. And there's not a good way to level your extension ladder. Oftentimes without accessories, you're going to have to dig out and create a level surface for yourself. But to ensure, fast and easy, confident setup, there's a lot of leveling options out there. Level Lock is a company that multiple people use for leveling options out there. We sell the Werner version of the Level Lock called the PK70-1. This is an attachment that you can put onto most extension ladders yourself. With a drill and a couple wrenches, you can install this in a matter of minutes. And the leg is able to ratchet down onto the low side and allow you to easily find level on your extension ladder. Really handy tool to really kind of increase your confidence and safety as you set up around unlevel earth. Walking up onto a roof is one of the more nerve-wracking climbing situations out there. We kind of spoke about this earlier. When you have a ladder set up, 3 rungs above the roof line, and you have to swing your leg around the tips of the ladder to get onto the roof, we probably all felt that. That's if you're not adept at it, it can make you sweat a little bit. That's kind of where products like our walkthrough come through. The walkthrough is really nice. It's once you try it, you really can't believe you did it any other way. You are able to clamp this onto the top of your extension ladder and walk through the center of the ladder versus having to step around. It makes it really confidence inspiring and easy to get on and off the ladder. And it also has some non-slip pads on the back of the extension there that make it stick onto the roof line a lot better than just aluminum or fiberglass rails would. So a really nice, easy way to gain access to that next level, especially if you're doing that as a common part of your job. If you're getting onto, as a roofer or an HVAC tech, anything like that, the walkthrough really can improve that experience. Stabilizers, like our AC78 here, are one of the more common accessories for extension ladders out there. And, just like their name says, they stabilize. You can install these on, most extension ladders. This AC78 fits on basically any extension ladder out there. There's other versions that are designed specifically for aluminum ladders as well that, do the same exact thing that the AC78 does here. But it really increases that base of stability at the top of the ladder, making it harder for the ladder to feel like it's moving at all. It also allows you to work around obstacles. Like here, you can see it set up to work around this window, and it actually also has a paint can hook there. So whoever set this ladder up is probably getting ready to paint the window trim here. There's a nice hook there to put their paint can. They can work around the window, not have to move the ladder multiple times. They're right where they need to be, and they're going to be extra stable as well. So a nod to stability and also productivity there as well. A couple other things to talk about. Extension ladders are really versatile, working on any wall, exterior or interior. And a ladder jack, there's a lot of them out there. You can use on your extension ladder to, cover spans of 8 feet. So if you have 2 extension ladders and 2 ladder jacks and a plank. So here, for example, you can see our AC10. You have 2 AC10 ladder jacks set up on 2 extension ladders, and you have a plank going across the 2 ladder jacks on the extension ladders, and now you can work an entire 8-foot span of a wall and not have to reset your ladder every few feet to get the job done. So this is a great way to be extra productive and have a much larger standing surface underneath you as you're working on a large area. Planks are great. They're very compact and easy to move around for smaller jobs, but there's also stages. Stages come in a little bit wider lengths and longer lengths as well. You still need to support the stage every 8 feet, but for bigger jobs, stages are a little bit stiffer and a little bit longer, and a nice way to get the job done as well. Moving into our last major category of climbing here, we're going to talk about multi-ladders. Multi-ladders are great. They are the fastest growing style of ladder out there currently, really because of how versatile they are. A multi-ladder is 5 ladders in one. You can use it as a step ladder, or actually a twin step ladder, because when it's folded into step ladder mode there, you can actually have a climber on either side of it. So if it's a 300-pound rated ladder, you can have it's 300 pounds on the front side and the back side, and you can have 2 workers using the same ladder at the same time, to install a ceiling fan or whatever they need to do. Really handy. In the picture to the right here, you can see examples of what I'm speaking to, but there's also wall mode. So if you either lower the back of the ladder or lengthen the front of the ladder, you can get the top of the ladder a little bit closer to the wall, and it'll operate a little bit more similarly to a leaning ladder, getting you close to the wall for painting or whatever you're doing on that wall there, which is great. Also, speaking of working on a wall, you can flip the ladder into extension ladder mode or straight ladder mode. And here you have one ladder that can operate as a step ladder and an extension ladder, which is great. And then I think the extremely useful thing about multi-ladders are in stairways. So if you're working in a stairway, doing whatever you're doing there, multi-ladders can provide a great option to gain access to the heights there, because you can keep one side high and have the other side low to deal with the step and rise of the stair set and allow you to get to where you're needing to go. On top of that, a lot of multi-ladders out there, Werner included, you can separate the base from the top, and you can use those as a scaffold base. The J-locks on Werner ladders are able to connect the base section together, and you slide your plank in, just like we were talking about on extension ladders, and you're good to go, which is great. Now, choosing that height on your multi-ladder, you have to think about it in both ways, as a step ladder and an extension ladder. So you kind of have to have both of these in the back of your mind at the same time, I suppose. The rules still apply. In step ladder mode, you can only step 2 from the top. And in extension ladder mode, you can step 4 from the top. And these are nice reference heights to have in the back of your head as you are choosing the correct multi-ladder to use. So a couple accessories for multi-ladders, again, to kind of increase that stability and productivity out on the job. The PK70 leveler leg, which we spoke about on extension ladders, is also compatible with many multi-ladders out there. And that's just going to help, you know, in a stair set like this situation is showing here, or, you know, in the dirt as well. And then, like we spoke about on the previous slide, using a plank with your multi-ladder is really useful. And I'll just draw your attention to how you can see the J-lock here, combining the two base sections. And here, without any other accessories besides the plank, you just have one multi-ladder where the base is removed from the top, the base is connected with the J-locks, and then you're able to use your plank. So really handy around the job. And so a lot of ways to make sure you set up your ladder for stability and productivity, and a few accessories to help get the job done, you know, correctly, right, fast the first time. So with that, that's the end of the presentation today on setup, stabilization, and accessories. Always remember safety first, and I think I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Eric. As we mentioned, you can put your questions in the question field. There are already a couple in here, so we'll jump right into it. In the beginning, we kind of talked about certain ladders and what the highest standing point is on those ladders. So are there markings or warning labels on the ladder that identify the highest standing level?
Yeah, so there's always going to be a warning label at the highest standing level to indicate to you, you know, where you can where you need to stop climbing.
Great.
And on step ladders, that'll be 2 from the top. On extension ladders, that'll be 4 from the top.
And for the walkthrough accessory, is that an exception to the requirement of having 3 rungs above the roof eave?
Oh, that's a great question. So exception is maybe the wrong word, but it operates and allows you to extend the reach of your ladder actually by 3 feet. So now, instead of having to get the rungs 3 feet above, and like I think my example earlier was on a 16-foot extension ladder, the highest extension point is 9 feet that you can reach, and have the rungs high enough to gain access to the roof. If you put the walkthrough on that same 16-foot extension ladder, you're actually going to be adding 3 feet to the overall length of the ladder. And therefore, the highest reaching point would be 12 feet. And then you're going to be walking right through the tips of that ladder versus around. And you'll also have the added benefit of the traction pads on the back, which will really stabilize the ladder on the roof edge. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. For the lean safe ladders, are those used for indoor only, or are those indoor and outdoor?
So you really want to make sure with leaning ladders and you know, step ladders in general, they need to be on smooth, flat surfaces. Typically, you know, any sort of finished surface, indoors or outdoors. You know, if it's, you know, a wood floor or a concrete floor, indoors or outdoors, you're going to be allowed to use step ladders. You typically wouldn't want to use a step ladder in the dirt.
I need to access my roof, but only have a step ladder. Can I use that ladder?
Simple answer is no. So to gain access to the next level, you always need to extend your the top of your step ladder, you know, 3 rungs above the roof line. Unfortunately, all too often we see people setting up step ladders at a low roof line, and they get the top maybe up to the gutter. Oftentimes it's below the gutter, and you're kind of making the hop up onto the roof line. It's incredibly dangerous. Oftentimes you're going to kick the ladder away from you, and we never want to take that risk.
The leveler legs that you talked about, are those available in fiberglass?
The leveler legs for extension ladders operate on fiberglass ladders as well. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So from Werner, we offer the PK70-1 we spoke about. We also have another leveler we use, the PK80-2. And both of those are on our website, and they detail the compatibility. Not all ladders are compatible with them, but the vast majority are, aluminum and fiberglass.
And I know today you discussed a lot of different accessories. So are any of these mandated by OSHA?
No, so all of the accessories that we talked about today are not mandated by OSHA, but most of the accessories we spoke about today help you, be safe and stay compliant with OSHA. So levelers are a good example of this. Levelers help you level your extension ladder quickly and confidently. OSHA doesn't say you have to use a leveler. OSHA says that you have to set up your ladder level. And you could accomplish that either by digging out the high side to make a level surface for yourself, or more simply and quickly by using a leveler leg, you'd be able to create a level surface for yourself versus having to dig one out. Does that answer the question, Joe?
Yes.
Awesome.
I think you might have just touched on this, but what's the max height you can use an extension ladder for access?
So, as long as you can get, 3 rungs over the roof line, the largest extension ladder we make is 66 feet long. It's a 3-section extension ladder, and, that's about the highest you'd want to go. And so, yeah, commonly though, 40 is going to be the more common long length out there. And with a 40-foot extension ladder, I don't want to say the wrong thing here. With a 40-foot extension ladder, your maximum reach height is 37 feet. And then you'd be able to hit 28 to 31 feet as your highest support point.
And do you have to tie off when you use an extension ladder?
You do not have to tie off. Sometimes there's not an option to tie off, but it's always best practice to tie off if you have the ability to do so.
Great. A lot of great questions, great Q&A, great presentation. So we'd just like to thank everyone for joining us today and to Eric for sharing his expertise with us. We hope you have enjoyed today's webinar on stabilization, setup, and accessories. You can find the recording of each webinar in the series online at laddersafetymonth.com, along with additional safety resources. Thank you again to Werner for sponsoring today's webinar and to all of you for joining us and being so engaged throughout the month. Have a great day and happy National Ladder Safety Month.